It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Episode 91, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Got a lot of things to talk about. FBI director let go. Leftist media meltdown and some common sense as well. We'll explain exactly what happened in the last 24 hours and I'll share some audio. I'll share some bat crap crazy audio and some sensible audio, and we'll get into that. I've got some university madness we'll get to very shortly on the podcast today. Want to thank redmaryland.com for featuring the podcast, redmaryland.com. And we've got a lot of really cool Maryland-centric swag on the merchandise website. It's tpublic.com. Look up Conservatees, teepublic.com. Look up Conservatees, and you'll see a bunch of them there. We got some really cool stuff. Crab Lives Matter. Got some pro Governor Hogan stuff and all that. Also, some Missouri-centric stuff, some Kansas-centric stuff coming. Politically incorrect garb. We've got laptop cases. We've got phone cases. We got mugs. We got tanks. We got tees. I don't think we have any G-strings. We're working on the G-string thing, but there's not a lot of room to print there, particularly in the back. So check that out. Also want to thank our sponsor, which is GrassMonstersKC.com. GrassMonstersKC.com, 5520 Raytown Road. Raytown Mo. They celebrate, and they also sell fantastic American-made zero-turning radius mowers, some standing mowers, some sitting mowers. Dixie Chopper and Hustler. Dixie Chopper made in Indiana, Hustler made in Kansas, both built like a brick excrement house. Whether you have a yard, a large yard, a huge church yard, whether you have a commercial mowing business, these mowers are spectacular, and you need to talk to GrassMonstersKC.com. If you want some more information on that, before we get into the Comey thing, I'm going to call this show Comey's Not Trump's Homie. How's that? That's the best I can come up with. Former President Barack Obama traveled to Italy this week to make a speech on climate change at the Seeds and Chips, the Global Food Innovation Summit in Milan. So he took a big old private jet, had a 14-car envoy to get into the city, which included protection from a helicopter, 300 police officers used to protect the former president, SUVs, police cars, sedans, not to mention a few motorcycles as well. This after spending a week in the French Polynesia on music mogul David Geffen's 500-foot, $600 million super yacht, which I believe does not run on fairy dust or unicorn juice. I think it runs on fuel, like fossil fuel. Not sure. And by the way, the president got $3 million for the speech, which he could have done on Skype, right? Okay. So, James Comey was let go yesterday. It was a bizarre day. Jim Comey was let go when he was in Los Angeles. He was in a motorcade on the highway, and it was very reminiscent, actually, of the O.J. Simpson white Bronco, the white Bronco thing. Here's Tucker Carlson talking about it last night. And trust me, it gets more serious, but it's funny.
Apparently, the FBI director was at an event in Los Angeles. He had no idea this was coming and learned about it from the televisions behind him.
Yeah, that's ugly.
What's the purpose
That's Britt
of that?
Hume, by the way.
I don't know that. I think they sent somebody to the FBI to deliver the message, and he wasn't there. And they didn't know that. That's what you call poor staff work.
We're looking now at a kind of OJ-like camera shot,
Yes.
apparently of former Director Comey's vehicle on the way to a speech in Los Angeles. But this raises the question, where is he going after tonight?
I'm saying Disney World. Here's Anderson Cooper talking about it.
And we continue to watch the motorcade. What we believe is James Comey.
Of course it wasn't the reason it was fired. We just don't know what it was.
Of watching
aside from
a
the
slow-speed police motorcade on a busy rush hour in Los Angeles. And if you
OJ,
remember
yeah.
O.J. Simpson, this is just kind of crazy.
It is a little crazy. Now, the media went bat crap crazy last night with regard to this. I mean, off the hook, off the reservation. CNN. We'll get to some audio from Jeffrey Toobin about this. His head imploded. Rachel Maddow's head imploded. The three networks' heads imploded. And it's all because they all want that nail in the coffin. They're all looking for that event, that Watergate event that is going to get Donald Trump out of office. That's the wishful thinking behind this. And it is... They thought they smelled some blood in the water yesterday. In fact, I know they dove on it. What am I saying? There was a half a beef laying in the water, and the media dove all over it. Unfortunately, there was no meat on it, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. But again, that didn't stop some people from just. I don't even know where to go with it. To call this essentially the biggest scandal since Watergate yesterday. Again, this is wishful thinking. Nothing could be further from the truth. Here's a little bit about Jeffrey Toobin last night on CNN with Anderson Cooper talking about it's the biggest thing since firing Archibald Cox.
This is a dark day.
For you millennials, it's the thing called Watergate.
In American history, Anderson. This is so far outside of the American political and legal tradition for a sitting president to fire the head of the FBI who is investigating his campaign with a completely bogus and pretextual explanation for why he was fired. It just has only happened once in American history, and that was October 20th, 1973, the Saturday Night Massacre when Richard Nixon fired Archibald Cox, the special prosecutor.
Okay, now what you don't know is that Monday there was a hearing in Washington to talk about possible collusion between the Trump campaign at the time and the Russians. Barack Obama's former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, repeated under oath what he told Chuck Todd March 5th, that he's seen no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Acting Attorney General Sally Yates was there yesterday. There was no smoking gun revealed on Monday. This in combination with an embattled FBI director who, by the way, has come under fire by both parties. Chuck Schumer has said he had no confidence in this man. Hillary Clinton says this man cost her the election. And now the Democrats are all butthurt about it. Kind of reminded me of, when you're talking to your friends and you're going to break up with, I'll just say a woman, because I'm a straight male. And you talk about all her faults and all this and all that. And she breaks up with you before it happens. And suddenly she's the best thing in the world, and your heart is crushed, and life is over. And oh my God, and this caterwauling, and people like Jeffrey Toobin say stupid things like this.
And it's a grotesque abuse of power by the President of the United States. This is the kind of thing that goes on in non-democracies.
This is getting really big, by the way. I mean, this is getting really big because now he's saying that this happens in non-democracies. We've had Steve Bannon called a Nazi. We've got Maxine Waters, who's completely out of her nut, saying that Jeff Sessions is a racist, that Donald Trump needs to be removed from office 100 days in.
That when there is a investigation that reaches near the President of the United States or the leader of a non-democracy, they fire the people who are in charge.
By the way, the notification of firing admitted that Jim Comey had told the president he was not being investigated 3 times in the note.
Of the investigation. I have not seen anything like this since October 20th.
Yeah, we already heard that. And, bullcrap. Bill Clinton fired his FBI director as well. All right, it has happened before. This is not as big and awful as some would like to think it is. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who, by the way, was just voted in by the Senate, I believe 96-4 or 94-6, one or the other. Attorney General Jeff Sessions wrote the formal memo saying they had no confidence in the FBI director, which is the same thing that Chuck Schumer said a little over a month ago. Okay? Trump used the letter dismissing Comey to say, I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I'm not under investigation. Took only an hour for Democrats, led by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, to claim the firing was a cover-up in attempt to cover up links to Russia during the campaign. Now, you'll recall Jim Comey was complicit in surveilling members of the Trump campaign, and who knows who else, using the excuse of incidental surveillance, meaning that, and by the way, Susan Rice was a part of that as well. Okay? So incidental surveillance, using the fact that both campaigns were talking to foreign entities. Both campaigns were talking to Russian entities. Only one of the people involved in the presidential campaign got $125 million for selling uranium mining rights to a Russian company, and that would be Hillary Clinton. In a tweet, Trump says, crying Chuck Schumer stated recently, I don't have confidence in Jim Comey any longer, then acts so indignant. Hashtag drain the swamp. And it was in November that Schumer told Bloomberg, I do not have confidence in him any longer. I'm going to break up with him, but Donald Trump forced the breakup, and now I'm all butthurt about it. Okay? White House Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders claimed Clinton would have fired Comey as well. She claimed Comey had lost confidence of the rank and file within the FBI as well as both sides of the political aisle. And it's for a variety of reasons. He mishandled a lot of things. The Hillary Clinton email thing. Okay? He announced the Bureau's investigation. It concluded that Clinton was extremely careless. And by the way, man, we'll get into the audio in a second, mentioned all of the things that Hillary Clinton did with her email that were illegal and then decided not to file any charges against her, not to indict her. Okay? So that pissed off the Republicans. All right? Then 11 days before the election in October last year, Comey notified Congress the FBI was reopening the case due to emails found on the laptop used by Anthony Weiner, including from Clinton Aberdeen's ClintonMail.com address. So that pissed off the Democrats. So you have both sides very angry at this man. Both sides had no confidence in this man. And yet yesterday when Donald Trump fires him, after, again, in front of congressional testimony under oath, there is no evidence of any collusion. This according to former Deputy Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. He'd seen no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. The Trump campaign was looking for an excuse to fire him. And they took a shot and they did it. And the left went absolutely bat crap crazy. The only person I saw who had apparently even put some thought into this was Fran Townsend this morning on CBS News, who had a reasoned thought about the decision, the positives and negatives of doing it yesterday.
It's clear from the letter from Rod
and why
Rosenstein, the current Deputy Attorney General, who has served 2 Republican now and 2 Democratic presidents. He goes back to the Clinton administration where he worked for me. And it's quite clear from his memo that this goes back to the Clinton email.
Thank you.
I think the thing that raises the Russia investigation is the timing of it. And the timing's unfortunate. I mean, would we have been asking this question if the president had dismissed him on day one? Mm-hmm. I think from the administration's point of view, they gave him a chance to kind of try and right the ship. That is the FBI that was in turmoil and after the Clinton email investigation was concluded. And he hasn't done that. And so I think the timing of it is what raises people's concern.
Yes, and they're looking for anything. And they're looking for that moment. They're looking for that moment. And once again, they thought they had it. They thought they had it. They thought they had the impeachable offense. I heard the word treason being used. There's going to be protests in front of the White House today. A bunch of leftist groups who've been to all of these other stupid protests. A bunch of leftist groups, organized and paid for. Going to be showing up in front of the White House. Now, they're going to get their talking points because they have no freaking clue what's going on. They have no idea. Probably don't even know who Jim Comey is. Have no clue whatsoever. But they're going to show up and protest. Like they protested Donald Trump's tax returns. Like the Women's March in Washington, D.C. like the violent anti-Trump inaugural protests. And we go on, and we go on. And the Earth Day protests and all this, not Earth Day, May Day protests. All leftist agitators bought and paid for. By the way, Attorney General Jeff Sessions was part of the decision to dismiss Jim Comey, and he had lost confidence in Jim Comey in October when it came to Hillary Clinton's emails and not deciding to indict, even though he listed all of the things that Hillary Clinton did that were illegal and all of the emails that it should have never been put at risk and should have never been on that server. Again, I'll have the audio for that in just a second. Here's a little exchange, a testy exchange. I almost said testes. A testy exchange between Kellyanne Conway and Anderson Cooper. Kellyanne Conway, the breaking news, they were following the motorcade, and she called in, or I didn't call in. She was piped in. She was actually in a studio, and it got quite testy.
The FBI director reports to the Deputy Attorney General. The Deputy Attorney General reports to the Attorney General. The Attorney General reports to the President of the United States. This had nothing to do with Russia, as much as somebody must be getting $50 every time the word is said, I'm convinced, on TV.
And by the way, Donald Trump's campaign was being surveilled. Okay, it was being surveilled. Under the guise of they're actually listening for Russians who might be involved. And it just so happens that some Americans were involved, so it's not a son of a gun. Look what we got on tape. Don't you suppose that the Obama administration, who, by the way, worked very closely with Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Jim Comey, all right, don't you suppose would have released any information of collusion between the Russians and Donald Trump's campaign before the election to upset the balance of the election? There's nothing there, guys. There's nothing there. Kind of like what's between Maxine Waters' ears. She said on some, I don't know, Washington Post guy's podcast yesterday that admitted there's no evidence. Well, we need to investigate. There's no evidence. Well, we need to investigate. There's no evidence. Quite simply, there's no evidence. It's wishful thinking. It's hoping that that they can take Donald Trump down on anything. On anything. Here's a little bit. This is Catherine Herridge talking about the firing and how apparently, I guess, Comey had no clue. He's out in L.A. to give a speech. He found out from seeing it on TV monitors. I don't know if the airport or in the limo, whatever. Here's Catherine Herridge, by the way, who I respect and admire very much. I think she's terrific.
This is like being a corporate employee and going out for lunch and coming back and your key card no longer works and the lock on your door is changed. That is what happened to him today.
Yeah, that's the way it happens, man. In government, it doesn't happen that way. In government, it doesn't happen. I mean, your firing takes forever if you're able to be fired. Yet everybody is just appalled. Cannot believe this happened so suddenly, even though this man did it.
You're fired. 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 You're fired.
Okay. That's how when the decision is made, it's carried out. In the real world, when the decision is made, it's carried out. Done. Goodbye. Your stuff's in a milk crate out on the sidewalk. Give me your key card, and you're out. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. Here's Charles Krauthammer. I was a little disappointed in Mr. Krauthammer last night, questioning the timing and almost buying into the scandal element. He has since kind of recanted a bit on that.
It's clear that it had been prepared for days. But again, why?
Or since October.
This way. And why was it done with malice? I mean, there would have been so many ways of having Comey sort of step aside, say he was in an untenable position. And I must say, in his defense, and I'm so
with malice. Maybe it's because he was such a giant F-up. Okay, and it wasn't just the announcement of Hillary Clinton's emails and all of the things that she had done wrong and that were illegal, and then decided not to indict. There were other things involved. Before he bombed the Boston Marathon, the FBI interviewed Tamerlan Tsarnaev, let him go. Russia sent the Obama administration a second warning. The FBI opted against investigating. This under Comey's watch. Okay, the FBI had possession of emails sent by Nidal Hassan, saying he wanted to kill his fellow soldiers to protect the Taliban. Taliban didn't intervene. He had something like Allah is my God or something on his business cards. He made it very clear he was going to go on a killing spree. FBI did nothing about it. During the investigation of Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified material, the FBI made an unusual deal with the Clinton aides. Both were given immunity and allowed to destroy their laptops. Pardon me. The FBI also investigated the terrorist who killed 49 people and wounded 53 more at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Despite a more than 10-month investigation of Omar Mateen, during which Mateen admitted lying to agents, the FBI opted against pressing further and closed its case. All under Jim Comey's watch. Back to Mr. Krauthammer.
I'm somewhat sympathetic to him. I wouldn't have done what he did, but he was in a position that was utterly impossible. We have never had a presidential candidate running for the presidency while under FBI investigation. Right. This is new. There were no rules. He made it up in a way that I think in his head thought minimized his impact on the outcome. He might have made the wrong calculation, but I don't think it was in any way bad faith.
Okay. If there is evidence, you indict. You and I don't get a delay. You and I don't get it. Hey, listen, my kid's got a baseball tournament this week, and I know you got the evidence to indict me, but, we're going to have to put things off. A little important here. Sean Hannity went off last night about this. We've got several bites from Mr. Hannity and some audio from Mr. Comey as well.
Frankly, he's very lucky that President Trump kept him around this long because of his now unhinged and very erratic behavior. Now, firing James Comey was absolutely the single right thing for this president to do. It's good for the country, and let me tell you why. Comey has failed you, the American people, on a spectacular level, and at every single turn, the FBI director disrespected the Constitution. He has shown he does not care about the equal application of the rule of law being applied equally to every American.
Thank you.
He is
again back to Hillary Clinton. No indictment, letting her go, possibly because. And by the way, do you remember when Comey came out, and I'll get to all the things that he listed that Hillary Clinton did that were illegal, and then let her go. Don't you suppose that would have tipped the election? And then when Comey gets 10 days before the election, information that there were classified emails on Huma Abedin's laptop that he was reopening the investigation. Who are you going to believe? It's no wonder this guy was let go, and the seeds were planted in last year.
Now stood by while our Fourth Amendment rights have been trampled upon, and worst of all, he has created in this country now a two-tier justice system, one for Hillary and Bill Clinton, and one for the rest of America.
100%. 100%. Hillary Clinton got away with murder. I mean, I'm not talking about the legitimate people they murdered, Hillary and Bill Clinton. And they left behind a lot of dead people. Here's a little bit more on Hannity talking about Comey letting the Clintons off the hook.
Now, let's start with facts. And Hillary Clinton and the private email server that she used purposely to circumvent what is known as congressional oversight. Here are the facts, plain and simple.
Yes.
Hillary Clinton's server contained top secret special access programs. In other words, the highest level of classified information on her computer. She deleted over 30,000 emails on that computer, claiming they were personal. They were about yoga, wedding, grandchildren, and emailing Bill Clinton, who never had an email account. This was a lie from the get-go.
Yeah.
And what's so despicable about this is back in July, when Comey made his big announcement on Hillary Clinton and the investigation, he acknowledged all of these facts, which, by the way, is an acknowledgement that crimes were committed. Take a look.
All right, here we go.
From the group of 30,000 emails.
All right, here's the montage that I'm talking about. All of the things that Comey said Hillary Clinton had done wrong and then decided no indictment because she's Hillary Clinton.
Turned to the State Department in 2014, 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received.
Yeah, and Hillary claimed she didn't know what the C word was for. The C on the documents. No, don't go there.
Of those chains contained information that was top secret at the time they were sent.
Yep.
36 of those chains contained secret information at the time.
Imagine how many of the deleted ones had this information.
And 8 contained
No, that was about yoga.
confidential information at the time. Separate from those, about 2,000 additional emails were up-classified to make them confidential. None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system. But their presence is especially concerning because all of these emails were housed on unclassified personal servers, not even supported by full-time security staff, like those found at agencies and departments of the United States government, or even with a commercial email service like Gmail.
She set it up. She set it up because she was selling the State Department at the time. She was selling for donations to the Clinton Foundation. You get $125 million from Russian government. How'd that end up? Well, you know, just so happens a Canadian company owned by the Russians. They were approved to buy 1/5 of the uranium reserves in our country. And it's fairly obvious, guys. When Hillary Clinton wasn't elected president, they closed up the foundation. Now, if they were really passionate about the work that they were doing, the good work around the world, between 5 and 10% of the money actually helped people out. The rest of it was for Chelsea Clinton's wedding, travel, parties. A very nice lifestyle, by the way. They were made billionaires twice over for begging for money and selling influence. A little more from Hannity's reaction to Jim Comey right there.
What you saw right there was James Comey laying out the legal case against Hillary Clinton, and then inexcusably, after 13 minutes of a stinging indictment, he let her off the hook.
There you go. Okay, so there's that. And that pissed off Republicans. And that Republicans said through the election in favor of Hillary Clinton. Because an indictment would have meant something. It would have been a bombshell. 10 days later, James Comey says publicly they're reopening the investigation because of Huma Abedin's laptop. Now the Democrats are pissed. You can't make anybody happy. A little more from Hannity on Jim Comey being a political hack.
If you or I, anybody in this audience, did anything close to what Hillary Clinton did, you would be put in jail. Mm-hmm. You would be perp walked, fingerprinted, you would be mugshotted and put in jail. But James Comey proved himself to be, in the end, nothing more, sadly, than a political hack, and he didn't deliver equal justice under the law.
Thank you very much. And also, let's talk about what he did to the average American with regard to the Fourth Amendment, with regard to with surveillance, among other things, and all of the aforementioned things that happened under Jim Comey's watch. If you look at all the things that happened under Jim Comey's watch, a pretty incompetent kind of guy, right?
They lined their pockets, millions and millions of dollars.
Talking about the Clintons.
While Hillary was serving as Secretary of State. Now, the evidence of wrongdoing is incontrovertible, overwhelming, yet Comey sat on the sidelines, and Clinton even gave up 20% of this nation's uranium to Vladimir Putin in this corrupt Uranium One deal. She personally, as Secretary of State, had to sign off on that 20% going to Putin. The evidence of wrongdoing is overwhelming. And by the way, James Comey, the Destroy Trump media, the radical left, they sat on the sidelines. They ignored the rule of law. And I want to add one thing to this. 20%. Meanwhile, the Clinton Foundation lined their pockets with millions. Bill Clinton doubled his speaking fee.
As soon as Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State, he went from $250,000 to $750,000 per speech.
When he spoke in Moscow?
In Moscow. He's speaking in Moscow, okay? He is in Moscow. You're convinced without evidence that Donald Trump and his campaign were colluding with the Russians to throw the election. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton is in Moscow, suddenly making $700,000 for a speech.
Let me give you another example. More recently, there's the egregious violation of our Fourth Amendment rights with Americans like General Flynn, who were incidentally caught up in foreign surveillance.
Which, by the way, it wasn't incidental. They were going after Americans, and they used the conversation with Russian officials as an excuse to eavesdrop. Hillary Clinton was communicating with Russians as well. Why haven't we heard anything about that?
They were amassed. That intelligence, a felony, leaked to the press by any measure. The one crime that we know was definitely committed in the case of General Flynn didn't bother Comey one bit. Sally Yates even said yesterday she was never asked about this by Comey. He did nothing to get to the truth, to get answers about who leaked information about General Mike Flynn, a felony under the Espionage Act.
Okay, and that's true. And by silence on that, to me, it shows complicit. He's complicit. Complicitly. You know what I'm saying? I want to make up a word here. Oh, it was funny because Stephen Colbert has enjoyed a bump in the ratings for saying that Donald Trump's mouth was a cock holster for Vladimir Putin. Okay, and he's enjoyed a bump in that. And Rachel Maddow has enjoyed some success in the ratings because of Trump hate. Trump hate's a really big deal for the left right now. So, if you say anything over the top or accusatory, or you're convinced this is the straw that broke the camel's back, this is how he's going to be impeached. Maxine Waters was invited to the friggin' MTV Movie and TV Awards the other night. Why? Because all she can talk about is not working with Trump and saying she's going to be part of the impeachment movement against him. All right? Haven't heard a thing from Hillary Clinton today, by the way. Even though just last week on stage with Christiane Amanpour said that if Jim Comey hadn't come out on October the 27th and said that he was reopening the investigation because of Huma Abedin's laptop, she would have won the election. I'm not hearing anything today on her. Huh? This is funny. Last night, late night television, Stephen Colbert, back to Colbert, he goes out to break the news to his very left of center audience about Jim Comey being fired, which, I mean, it's a nail in the coffin, right? It is the end of days for Donald Trump because it shows collusion between the Russians, blah, blah, blah. But listen to the audience cheer, because the audience, like most leftists, including Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, and numerous media folks, Jeffrey Toobin we just heard from, they hated Comey because Comey, through the election, lost the election, according to Democrats and according to Hillary Clinton. Listen to the reaction when he breaks the news.
Just minutes ago, like less than 10 minutes ago, FBI Director James Comey has just been fired by Donald Trump.
Woo! Now listen to that. They're thrilled. They're thrilled. And then Stephen Colbert has to kind of reel him in a little bit here. No, wait.
Huge Donald Trump fans here tonight.
I mean, listen, I know you're laughing and everything, but now I've got to tell you why you're not thinking right. Let's hear it again.
Just minutes ago, like less than 10 minutes ago, FBI Director James Comey has just been fired by Donald Trump.
Woo! Yes.
Huge Donald Trump fans here tonight. That shows no gratitude at all. I mean, did Trump forget about the Hillary emails that Comey talked about? I mean, thanks for the presidency, Jimmy. Now don't let the door hit you where the Electoral College split you.
Okay. All right. So what are you going to believe, folks? It's so funny. Colbert had to teach him how to think right there. That's not how you react. Those people despise Jim Comey as much as many on the right despise Jim Comey. Here's last night, Britt Hume was talking with Tucker Carlson on Tucker's new show. And a lot of comparisons have been made between the firing of Jim Comey and Watergate. And it's such a load of crap. Here, Britt Hume, somebody who was alive and I'm assuming covering the news when Watergate happened, unlike you and me, we had to have our memories refreshed. It's history for you and I. But here he is talking about the absurdity of the comparison.
Well, remember this about the occurrence of the Saturday Night Massacre. The investigation into the alleged crimes of Watergate was very well advanced, and a great deal of evidence of wrongdoing had been uncovered, both in congressional hearings and in the criminal investigation.
And by the way, in this case with the Russian collusion, there's no evidence. Testimony on Monday in front of Congress proved it.
Since they were going forward. And Archibald Cox, the independent counsel, the special prosecutor had been named, was very far along in that investigation.
And by the way, letting go Jim Comey doesn't stop an investigation from happening. Believe it or not, there are other people who work at the FBI.
Lots of evidence, and everybody knew it.
Yeah.
And it was unmistakable what happened and pretty much why. He did not have, as this FBI director had, this long and checkered history in which members of both parties agreed that he had misbehaved badly.
Right.
No, he was as pure as the driven snow, as far as everybody knew. And he might have been a partisan Democrat. I happen to think he was. But nonetheless, he had a clean record.
Now, Comey does not. Comey has a checkered past, and both parties have said that they have no confidence in him. Many have called him incompetent. And yet, when he makes a decision, or when the Trump administration makes the decision to fire him, suddenly everybody's butthurt about it. Here is Britt Hume talking about Comey and the email scandal.
With Comey. People were afraid of Comey.
I've
As you
noticed.
pointed out in the earlier segment that people were afraid of him. And
Probably because they were afraid of being surveilled.
And it's very clear that his handling of the whole Hillary Clinton matter was really approved by almost no one. I mean, for him to say, as he did, that it was his only choice was to be the guy that recommended whether to prosecute or not, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Loretta Lynch was compromised, she did not, by the way, recuse herself.
Right.
She said she would accept whatever recommendation she got. That recommendation from the FBI director should have gone silently to the Deputy Attorney General or some other set of subordinate officials. That's manifestly clear. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yes.
And what he did was, on the face of it, improper, incorrect, and unfair, terribly unfair.
It was unfair, and there were
unfair to
Republicans.
her, and
I
unfair,
agree.
period.
And you saw Republicans taking pleasure in it at the time.
Yep.
And I thought that was wrong then, and I think it's wrong now. You shouldn't have an FBI director weighing in like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, he made the announcement that there would be no indictment the Monday after Loretta Lynch met on the tarmac in Arizona with Bill Clinton on a private plane and talked about their grandchildren while he was campaigning for his wife. Here's a little more on, and just as I mentioned, the left's hysteria regarding this and why it's there. Again, I'm saying it's because they want to smell blood in the water. They want to deliver the kill strike with the Trump administration. They're so hysterical about Donald Trump being the president that they've lost sight of reason. Here's Britt Hume on that.
I think that there are things in play here that we haven't seen before. There is resistance to Trump because he's a Republican,
yes,
and because his policies are not what the left would like.
Right.
And there would be that to any Republican. Yes. But Donald Trump is really a very special kind of Republican. If you and I sat down, Tucker, and tried to design somebody that would offend the establishments in both parties, really, when you think about it,
for sure,
we could hardly do better than Donald Trump. Because look at this. Look at the never-Trumpers who are conservatives. They are as rabid and angry in their criticism of him and as ceaseless in it as are the people on the left. I've never seen that before. He's unique in that regard. It is a kind of cultural revulsion at the man. And that's a powerful combination.
And by the way, the left, the media, loved Donald Trump when they were making Donald Trump until he became the presidential candidate. And then until he beat Hillary Clinton in the election.
You get political resistance and cultural revulsion on the left, and on the right, at least in some quarters, you have this reaction to him as a person, which is so powerful, so personal, and I think it seems like it's taken over some people's brains.
Well said. It has. There's an anti-Trump hysteria, and it's caused late-night talk show hosts to use expressions like cockholster about the President of the United States. It's caused idiotic, paid-for protests around the country to happen almost weekly. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Well, there you go. There's my distillation of Comey's not Trump's homie. All right? And that's where we're going to leave it today. I'm going to record episode number 92 here in a little while. And it'll be non-political. But I thought since this is a big story, and you're going to hear a lot about it, I thought I'd cover it today. All right? I hope you've enjoyed it today. I want to thank you very much for listening to the podcast. If you would, please Tell friends about it on social media. So you got to check out this Rob Carson guy. Pretty fun stuff. You can download me on iTunes at The Rob Carson Show. There are a lot of places you can find me. I'm on YouTube as well. But iTunes is one way to get the show. SoundCloud is another way to get the show. The website is robcarsonshow.com. There's a lot of stuff there you can check out, including my social media links and whatnot. I want to thank redmaryland.com. Again, redmaryland.com. Make it a favorite, particularly if you live in Maryland. It's a great political blog. Scott Klein, great man. And also, of course, Grass Monsters KC. If you're in the KC area, go to Grass Monsters, 5520 Raytown Road in Raytown, and check out the Hustler line of mowers and the glorious Dixie choppers. In the meantime, have a glorious rest of your day, and we will see you again. I'm Rob Carson, episode 92, very shortly. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.